introduces us to several managerial concepts and basics. Among the most important of these are manufacturing costs, as well as product costs and period costs. So let's look at each in a little bit more detail. Manufacturing costs consist of three different areas. The first one is direct materials. Direct materials are those things that you're going to actually put into making your product as far as the raw materials are concerned. Let's consider an example of making chairs. That's what our factory or our business is going to make. Well, all of the materials required to make those chairs are considered materials. Direct materials, however, are those things that we can directly trace or identify that go into the chair. If this were, say, an upholstered chair that we were making, a nice comfy chair to sit in and read a book, then that upholstery or the fabric would definitely be a direct material. I can trace exactly how much material, that upholstery fabric, that we use to make the chair. If we had lumber, maybe the legs are wood, that would also be considered a direct material. Now we may have some materials that they are involved in making the chair, they're materials, but we don't consider them direct. Things that aren't a large component of the overall product, or a very small cost, for example. Let's say we use one little dot of glue to affix something to this entire chair. It's probably not easy to trace or to cost out per chair on a direct rate. So in that case, we would consider those indirect materials. They're still a material, but we're going to classify them a little bit differently. Just hold on to that for a moment. Another manufacturing cost would be direct labor. This deals with the actual physical production by someone of our product. So maybe we have people that operate sewing equipment or hand sew some things together with our fabric for the upholstery on our chair. We have people that put together the frame to put the upholstery on for the chair. These people are all involved with the labor aspect of taking raw materials and putting them into a finished product, making the product itself. Now, there's a lot of different labor that you could see in a business making a product. The people actually physically touching and producing the product, they probably have supervisors that are on the floor watching and possibly assisting. Maybe you have a janitorial staff that cleans up in the factory afterward. Are all of these people considered direct labor? No. Again, we're looking for those that are directly involved with making the product. All of those people are involved with making the product, but not directly involved. We don't directly trace their labor to the product. I can tell you exactly how long an employee spent physically making that chair if they were on, say, an assembly line. But I don't directly tie, say, a janitor's hourly wage to the product of one chair. They are labor, but they're not direct labor. Same thing for the supervisor. That supervisor does contribute to the production of the chair, but not directly. So we're going to consider that indirect labor. Our third manufacturing cost is manufacturing overhead. Manufacturing overhead has a lot of different components. Two of those we've actually already discussed. Any materials or labor costs that are considered indirect will be included in manufacturing overhead. So again, they're still part of the product that we're making, but we're not going to have them as a direct, traceable, specific cost. Instead, we're going to put them in the manufacturing overhead classification. Other things you'll find in manufacturing overhead would be, say, your utilities, your electric for the factory, the water in the bathrooms at the factory, depreciation on your factory equipment, insurance on the factory building. Anything, again, still involved with making the product, but it's not a direct charge. It's not direct materials, it's not direct labor, but it's still involved with the actual production of our product. That's going to be considered manufacturing overhead. So what are product costs? Well, we've just explained all three components of product costs. Product costs are our manufacturing costs. So that would be direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead or manufacturing overhead. Anything that falls in those three categories is considered product cost. So the chair that we've made, everything involved with making that chair is a product cost, any manufacturing cost. Period costs, on the other hand, are non-manufacturing costs. We still need these things to run our business. They're still costs, and we're still in business because we do make the chairs. But what about things that aren't directly involved with the manufacture of our chair? We probably have the president of our company. They may not be involved with directly making the chairs, but that president is still an important component of our business. The salary we pay that president would be a period cost. Office expenses, anything related to an office building that's separate from a factory building, for instance, would be a period cost. So depreciation on factory or on office equipment, or insurance on an office building, or rent on an office building, utilities for an office building, office salaries. And in general, we can also categorize period costs into two subcategories: selling expenses and administrative expenses. Anything that isn't involved with the manufacture of the product, we could classify as a period cost. So again, manufacturing costs involve direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. Product costs are all of the manufacturing costs. Period costs are all other costs associated with our company that are non-manufacturing costs.